how do I get the seller to pay me, the buyer, some amount of points, 1 or 2 points, so that I can buy down my interest rate? You remember that conversation, Josh?
All right, Mike, how's it going?
Going good. Going good. Good to be back, Josh.
It
How
is
are you, sir?
June. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. It's June, and that means that
Hey,
it's
everybody.
time for the monthly market update. So let's talk about real estate here on the Central Coast.
Let's get into
Talk
it.
about what's going on and what kind of advice we have for our clients out there, and what we'd suggest for anybody who's looking to make a move here in the San Luis Obispo County. So let me pass it on over to you, Mike. What's going on in the mortgage world?
Okay, so April and May are behind us, and what we saw, I mean, you couldn't avoid it on the news. The U.S. debt ceiling discussions, now as of June 2nd, seem to be finalized. We're going to see that debt ceiling increase so that the U.S. Treasury can pay its liabilities. But what's happening now is just some fine tuning on the actual spending. Leading up to this, all of the month of May, banks that offer 30-year and 15-year mortgages did not want to be on the wrong side of a decision where the U.S. banks, let's say the Republicans or the GOP party, just dug in their heels and would not agree to a debt ceiling increase. And so when that vote went to the floor, it wouldn't pass. If the U.S. Treasury, was not able to make its payments, it could have been devastating for the 10-year Treasury note, and that is very much correlated to how the 30-year mortgage is priced. So in a very clear way to explain it to you, banks just pushed rates as high as they could to 7%, sometimes higher than 7% if you had less than 20% down and an unfavorable FICO score, so that they didn't have to take on any new applications during this time period if rates were going to go to 8%. And if you could even swallow it, Josh, talked about potentially 9% interest rates if that debt ceiling discussion didn't go the way it did. So for the industry we're in, and you as the buyer looking to purchase, so important that this debt ceiling conversation got handled. Now, that was current news. The news that's been going on from last April, really last May to this May was, rates are going higher. There's got to be a real estate bubble. Even Jerome Powell said clearly at the end of last year, clearly there's a bubble and the real estate sector is going to need to see some prices come down. Well, I'm here to tell you that there was a dip, and if you remember last year, if you were trying to buy or if you went ahead and bought in June or July or August, that rates went to 6.5%, 7%, and the whole discussion last year was really, how do I get the seller to pay me, the buyer, some amount of points, 1 or 2 points, so that I can buy down my interest rate? You remember that conversation, Josh? You probably do. I'm going to show you right now on a Case-Shiller pricing index. And Case-Shiller is really important because Case-Shiller, unlike the FHFA pricing index, Case-Shiller takes into account cash purchases. So when you have cash, you get a little bit of a discount. You can close quicker. You usually don't have contingencies. And so the seller's willing to offer you a better price. So this is actually a very good index for us to follow. I'm going to share this now. You should see it on your screen, and I'll quickly just walk you through these columns, what the blue and the gold mean, to be familiar. So in April of 2022, this is right when the market was getting white hot. Everyone knew rates were going up, and they jumped in. They either sold their house for a good amount of equity and bought, or they were first-time home buyers that just got in. 2.3 was the increase in appreciation to the real estate market in just April. Then it starts going down. Then we see here in July, this is when we started having that narrative, well, the seller better give me credits so that I can afford my interest rate. This is when I sold my house right here. Oof, sorry. I had to actually give my buyer 1.5 points to help them close. And then it kind of trickled on through the end of the year. And then right about January, we saw an increase in price because here in February of this year, that's right when the rates went from 7% down to 5.99, 5.875. So really important time. And you can see prices jumped right back up right away. Now, what's trending? So this Case-Shiller index, you can find this online. It's very easy to look at. United States Case-Shiller Home Price Index. What's happening now, oops, let me switch back to my screen. What's happening now is that we're seeing, and Josh, I know you're going to hit on this, limited existing home inventory is making it very, very difficult for buyers to come in and offer a lower than list price because the competition making offers on the house that looks great or the couple houses that looks great puts the seller in a strong position where they have the attitude that I don't have to drop price. In fact, I don't have to repair what you're asking me to repair. So it's a very interesting time. And I think here's what's trending. Okay, so this is the important part as I wrap up. I see this United States debt ceiling conversation now going to the back burner. They're going to agree to raise the ceiling. They're going to muddle over what the spending is. And now we hit July 1st next month. If you're not familiar, that's when the governments and the municipalities get their funds and look at a new budget. We're going to start seeing the economy slowly go into a recession where there's going to be more layoffs and there's going to be less hirings. So unemployment will go up, and slowly but surely we'll see this core CPI go down. Now, I've taken more in the time than I need, Josh, but I just want to give everyone a quick look here on core CPI. So if you look at it, you could read this every day, but look at the trend in just the last 3 months. I'm predicting that we're going to see a core CPI below 4% this year. And I think that's going to really bring the 30-year fixed mortgage rate back below 6% with no increase in inventory inside. That's all I have to say. It's a mouthful. I'm sorry, Josh, I took 7 minutes, but that's my update for this month. It's a very pivotal time for you as a buyer.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's really, I think, important for people to keep an eye on and be educated about. I'm going to share real quick my screen here and talk a little bit about the active listings here for San Luis Obispo County. So can you see that, Mike?
I can, yes.
So as you can see here, active listings are significantly down from 2018. We've got this back 5 years, so we can really see that active listings have trended down, which is inventory, meaning that we've got fairly low inventory here in San Luis Obispo County. Right now, May of 2023, which these are the numbers that we've got obviously now that we're in June, 466 active listings. And we could take a look back there just a few years back in May of 2020, 1,000 active listings there. So quite a contrast from a couple years ago. And what is that, what's happening? For myself as a listing broker and as a buyer's agent, I'm working with both parties and dialoguing with them and making sure that they're best prepared when they're making the offers or when they're listing their home. And so with limited inventory, it tends to tell us that we're still in a seller's market. We still have that strong demand. So talking about demand, let me share this real quick here. I look at the inventory month supply to really give us an indication of where we're at in regards to demand. So can you see that, Mike?
It's populated now, yep.
Okay, so inventory month supply, normally we're at 3.8, 3.9, 4 months supply. And so just as a reminder for everybody, if I've talked about it before, but month supply is if there's no new listings that reach the market and all of the current buyers that are out there looking for homes, are still there, how long would it be until we reach 0 homes for sale? So, how long until we are at 0 inventory? And right now we're at 2.3, which is better than we were back in December of 2021, but still
Yeah.
relatively low month supply. So that just tells us, again, of what we've talked about before, relatively low inventory here in San Luis Obispo County with still strong demand. And that's really just the theme here. And I'm going to talk about why that is the case. But last one I just want to talk about here is going to be the median sales price for San Luis Obispo County. So we continue to trend upwards in that area. Why? Lower inventory, and we've got a lot of demand. Specifically here in San Luis Obispo County versus other counties, we have a lot of people coming here to retire or just move here because the climate is so good. We've got such great beaches. We've got such great topography, mountains to climb and hike. And so we've got a lot of outside demand, and we've got limited housing. So you can see here, median sales price took a little bit of a dip in February, but then back up here in April and May. So we continue to see strong prices here for San Luis Obispo County. And why are we seeing that? Well, you mentioned last time we talked about something called the lock-in effect, lock-in mortgage effect. And so I'm just going to briefly touch on that so people know. You've probably seen it already on the news. But a lot of the homeowners out there that are looking to be new homeowners and buy a new property, most of them have a mortgage at 3.5%, quite a bit lower, right? And so, when you contrast to having a rate locked in at that versus moving into a new house with a rate 6-7%, that really is a
Deterrent.
Deterrent, yeah, exactly. Great word for people to sell their existing property and move into a new home. So I think to your point, as we see a trend down in the rates, we're going to see that inventory kick up a bit. With that being said, for my buyers out there, my recommendations, like I've always said, follow that correct process. Make sure you're budgeting. Make sure that you have that savings just in case you need to do some updates or upgrades or repairs to your new home. Make sure that you are pre-approved, not just pre-qualified, because there's strong competition out there. For example, I put up a listing in Paso Robles, and we had 6 offers on it. So if you're one of those offers, I was representing the sellers, but if you're representing, if I was representing you as a buyer, making sure that you're pre-approved, we have your proof of funds, we have everything set to go so that we could limit and reduce some of those contingencies. So it's better time to be a buyer than it was this time last year. The competition was so intense, so you're going to have a little bit more negotiation opportunity here in this time, June, July, August. So, but I would just say, going back to it, follow that process, make sure that you're prepared, and make sure you've got your down payment saved, and you're making sure that your credit is strong. And again, you mentioned, Mike, you had to give a little bit of a concession to your buyer when you sold your property, and we're still seeing that. I've had a buyer that I represented in here in Arroyo Grande, Pismo Beach area, and we were able to negotiate quite a few $10,000, $15,000 to pay down their rate. So it's still out there. It's definitely a good time if you're prepared and you're ready to move into a new home. So that's what I got for us, short and sweet. Anything else you've got to say there, Mike?
I just want to say that, as we wrap up, I feel like many people don't think that they're ready to have a conversation with us because they may not have all these ducks in a row. I think the best thing you can do is just have an initial conversation with myself or Josh about your wants and needs so that we can start putting you on a plan that will prepare you in a realistic time frame to get into real estate. Whether it's you selling your house and buying another one or buying your first house, I think it's crucial to have a planning discussion, just like you would if you were going to start a business. You probably sit with a CPA and figure out which structure to have what type of entity you want to form. Same thing with us. We just want to make sure that you're going down the right path. There's many things that you don't have to do to be ready, and there's many things that are critical that need to happen to be ready.
Well, that's it for us. Thank you for tuning in. And if you, like Mike said, if you've got any other questions, down here on the link in the bottom, we'll go ahead and put the link for the advice before price to get that started and to book with us. But till then, till we see you next time, hope you have a great time. See you later.